we are watching America quite closely. Yes, you are right that the numbers are rising there as well. But if you look at the countries that we have highlighted, one concern we have in UK, in Switzerland, in Japan, it's not just about the numbers that they have reported. In the case of the UK, it is rising very rapidly, but it's not just about the numbers, but the fact that these countries have abandoned any attempt at containing the spread of the virus. They have said so publicly, especially the UK and Switzerland, perhaps less so for Japan, but certainly in the case of UK and Switzerland, they have, I think the UK has been most public in acknowledging that there's no point containing, and they are simply now at the phase of trying to delay the spread. So if there is no deliberate effort to contain, then we anticipate that the numbers of infected cases in these countries will rise even more sharply in the coming days or weeks, and that's why we are quite concerned. The US has just put in place quite stringent border control measures for incoming travelers from Europe. I think they are starting to ramp up some of their measures, and including testing. So we are watching America, and like I said, this is a dynamic situation. Every few days we get more information about the status in different countries. So we may put in new countries in the list, or we may adjust countries with respect to where they are in these three buckets or three categories which I just described. Second question was on, when is the peak in Singapore? This is a question I ask our experts all the time, right? And frankly, no one can give a definitive answer at this stage. If you look at the epidemic curve, or if you look at just data on number of new cases, it's quite interesting because you will see a rise in the first. That's when the start of this epidemic. You'll see that it rose up, and then that's because of China. It's come down, and then now you see another wave of new cases going up, and it's largely cases outside of China. Some of these cases are still at an early stage of the epidemic curve. They are nowhere near the peak that China was before, right? So, and there are many more countries now. Previously, China, one country, and China took very stringent containment measures to contain the virus within China itself and to limit the spread of the virus outside of China. You are now seeing the next wave of infection around the world, and as I said, the worrying thing is many countries, some of these countries, have already given up on containment. And they are quite prepared, as you heard some of these countries say, they are quite prepared for the virus to spread to a large proportion of their populations. So if they have given up on containment and they are allowing the virus to just spread, then the number of cases and the next peak that comes may well be higher than what we had faced in the initial wave when the virus was just from one epidemic center. Now we are facing multiple epidemic centers, countries which are not even thinking about containing the virus, and so we may be well facing a much higher number of cases outside of Singapore, exposure to more cases. And that's why we are quite concerned that Singapore will indeed be exposed to a new wave of infection which is potentially larger than what we had seen previously. And if that's the case, we do need more stringent border control measures in order to limit the number of imported cases.